Hello, guys, and welcome to 21metrics podcast. I'm here today with Juhani, and we're about to talk about crypto and macro and everything between. Welcome, Juhani. Good to see you here.
Yeah, thanks to be here again.
And don't forget to check our partner, Sarsit.ai. I will add a link to our show notes. But yeah, let's talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is at 102K currently. When looking at this chart by material indicators, we're actually now seeing some retail buying here, the yellow indicator. But whales are not buying yet. So we are seeing some slight uh, retail buying to dip and how do you see this, Juhani? Could we still go lower from here, or how do you see the sentiment playing out?
I think the liquidity is just getting weaker. That's at least what I noticed in risk assets. So I would expect that at least the price development slows down. We might a little bit recover, but I think like by the end of next year, we probably slower start to end up in a situation where a stock market like Nasdaq start to price down, and I think Bitcoin will just follow it. Like because today we have like Nvidia earnings, of course, and then we see thereafter if that triggers any selling pressure in the tech side, and if it does, then we probably go lower. I think so because I think like a lot of tech companies are like a little bit valued, a little bit the valuations are a little bit stretched, so there's like pretty high valuations in all the like risk assets. So if they correct even a little bit, then I think like Bitcoin just follows the suit. And of course, because we have so many treasury companies now, like that we discussed last time, I think, and that also might end up causing a lot of pressure if suddenly, let's say, Bitcoin goes down in price, then those companies might be forced to sell part of their positions because they are extremely levered, like getting margin calls, and they have to like sell some of their Bitcoin or basically raise more money, like MSCR has been recently doing, like selling some shares and diluting like the shareholder value of per stock. So that's kind of like probably the biggest risk for, let's say, treasury company investors, I think.
Yeah, that's right. So you see maybe liquidity getting lower from here, or like in Q4, how it's playing out? Because if
Yeah. I think it's kind of like flattened out recently because the increase of the liquidity has declined already a bit, and the interest rates are going up, and that's kind of like indication that the bond market liquidity is getting worse every week. So I think it's just a matter of time when the liquidity issue arrives to stock market and then crypto as well.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, let's talk about Ethereum. I think everybody is right now talking about Ethereum. You have also, Johanny, noticed that ETH is up 20% in the last 30 days, and it seems like no Bitcoin is like flat, and Ethereum is up. It seems like following this divergence to Bitcoin, and right now we are seeing here that Ethereum's dominance is up while Bitcoin is dropping. So this kind of scenario could also mean a new alt season maybe. Then we are seeing like institutions buying Ethereum, like Tom Lee's Bitmine, Immersion Technologies, and so is there some kind of like narrative shift going on with Bitcoin and Ethereum maybe, or how do you see it? Do we now have like the a new favorite here, or how do you see it, Juhani?
I think they just might be looking some other assets than Bitcoin at the moment because the treasury space is kind of like filled, right? Like
Yeah,
there's tens of treasury stocks trading in stock markets, so probably they try to find a new product to sell the investors, and Ethereum or Solana is basically the two alternatives that they have, I think, like as the more like relatively well-known, let's say, cryptocurrencies that could work as a like base to build, let's say, some treasury company.
yeah,
This could be like also the thing, but I also like think that Ethereum is more useful in certain like applications, right? Because you can do transactions with Ethereum
yeah,
technology better than Bitcoin, because in Bitcoin it's kind of like really expensive to and slow
yeah,
to do transactions. So it's more like also the way how if companies, let's say, plan to do tokenizations, for instance, then it's probably Ethereum or like similar, let's say, utility companies that have like coins that have some utility to provide. And so it's kind of like could be like the narrative to buy on more like the utility-based coins, for instance. Because I think in like thinking like the next 10, 20 years, I think like tokenization is the main thing where I see growth for crypto space because it's kind of like the most promising
stable
technology at least. Yeah.
yeah tokenization, but also like stable coins. I think if you look at USDT Tether, is like it has like two strong chains which are Ethereum and Tron basically, and
Yeah,
Ethereum
exactly.
there, and Tether is making a lot of money. It's like a massive money machine, but. The assets are very different. So Bitcoin has different use cases. This digital gold, and it's good per se.
Yeah, actually, it's more like a
Yeah, cash
get
flow.
against lower rates and higher, let's say,
Yeah.
monetary aggregates. But also like now Bitcoin has slightly like deviated from the M2, and I think that's just because like the growth of M2 has already like stopped, like I have been telling in last two meetings, and that's kind of like why I think like Bitcoin might be like reaching like the peak area where we start to see, let's say, far smaller, let's say, upside than downside, and that's also like situation where you want to do some risk management. But I think it also like if you look like Tron, for instance, it has performed quite well, let's say, compared to many other cryptocurrencies. So it might be that some of these utility related cryptocurrencies might outperform Bitcoin also, like in short term at least, if there's like narrative that these are the next big thing.
Yeah. So, Johanny, when was the last time you made a Bitcoin on-chain transaction that you sent Bitcoin from one wallet to another, or have you done it, like personally?
I don't think I have ever done it, like only like buying stuff, not like
Because
really moving it.
because I did it like early this year, early in the spring, and it was from like this kind of like old physical coin to an exchange.
Okay.
I can tell you
I,
that on-chain transaction it took like 2 hours. It was in the evening, and I was waiting it to be confirmed for 2 hours. So that's another thing that it kind of like
yeah, actually, I think
that's
like
not,
normally when I move between, let's say, wallets, I just buy Tron and then I just move the
yeah.
Tron between those two.
I was thinking that nowadays, like, who is going to wait 2 hours for this on-chain transaction? And I think
Probably nobody, I think so.
yeah, people often like forget this, and when you really try, you remember that, oh my god, it's going to take potentially take many hours, and actually like of course you can adjust the fee. You can choose like high fees, low fees. Obviously, I usually choose high fees, but still like it might take a while. So
Yeah, it's not like coin to use for transactions, more like keep value against, let's say, in the valuation of dollar in general. And
and of
that's
course
kind
you
of
can
thing, I
also do
think.
like off-chain transactions, but yeah, but I really see this narrative shift going on. And I was talking with an American friend a while ago. He has been in crypto and Bitcoin for a long time, and he said to me that who's actually buying Bitcoin above 100K. That's a good question, and he has been holding since 300 USD, and he has seen a lot of like me, I would say. And the question really is, and what is the like okay, I personally like expect Bitcoin to strengthen against fiat currencies in the long term. I'm not like against that thesis, but then again, like what is the realistic like upside of Bitcoin from here? Let's say that Bitcoin would reach like market cap parity with gold, and in that scenario, Bitcoin would be like 10x. And it was like what 1 million per one Bitcoin. But like let's say that I think it's kind of like obvious, and many people see it this way, that Bitcoin's upside might be limited. And if you look at Bitcoin and these other assets, and then like retail and also institutions are looking for maybe like undervalued assets. Some people
Yeah,
say that
like,
it can go up
yeah, Ethereum
forever.
is definitely yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a bit like and also I believe in this theory of a law of diminishing returns, that it kind of like okay, it can go up forever, but I think the pace will eventually you know uh, calm
Mm,
down in a way.
Yeah, I think we have already seen that, right? Like since 13, like the first 5 years was kind of like rocket, and now in the last 2 or 3 is kind of like slowing the space. I think that's like typical also for the treasury companies. And that's why I don't expect the MSCR to provide any extremely high returns in the next 12 months, because it's so over levered and it's has already like hard time to collect the cash and has to now dilute basically the shares by basically selling more shares to new investors. And that's kind of like pretty good indication that probably the Bitcoin treasury market is like a little bit oversupplied. I think so.
And
that's kind of like that's probably also the reason why people are now looking Ethereum, probably Solana a bit. What could be like something new, because if you look like what ETPs are coming out from the typical crypto asset managers, then it's basically Ethereum, Cron or something similar, I think so. That's something different that hasn't been yet available.
Yeah, and also if you look back to 21, like Bitcoin went, Bitcoin reached an all-time high of 70K in November 21. If you compare that to like today's like 110K, it's not up that much. Like if you compare, it's now like up like 50% maybe. So it's around like 13% per year return, but it's not that much. Like it was like
stock market gives like 6% a year.
Yeah, so it's basically double the stock market is good, but like it's not like parabolic. And as I have been holding Bitcoin for a long time, I remember
actually
like it went from something like 800 USD to 19K in 1 year. But we are not seeing this parabolic, advance.
It's also like if you compare it to like 2x levered Nasdaq index, then it's starting more or less similar, I think. So there's not so much added value in that sense. If you want to hold dollar assets and you just choose between those two, then the end result is kind of like similar.
Yeah. So we might be seeing a narrative shift here. But yeah, let's move forward. This is actually my chart I made for Crypto Quant. So we are also seeing like short squeezes here. We have seen these many times this year, during the spring and during the summer, and now in August. So I think like many investors have been expecting Ethereum weakness, but it hasn't been that weak, and now we are seeing this massacre in the shorts here. What else? Open interest is growing for Ethereum here. So this is also a bullish sign. So and I think it will grow a lot from here. So this open interest or step interest towards Ethereum. But yeah, let's move to institutions because we have limited amount of time here. So MSTR now owns like 3.2% of all Bitcoin supply in circulation, and they did some dilution recently. So how do you see it, Juhani? How do you see this dilution? Is it a red flag, or how would you?
I would say a little like a weakness. So if they really have to dilute their own shares, it kind of like means that they have probably reached the limit of bond market or something like that. That they find it really expensive to finance via issuing bonds, right? And it's kind of, because if you really have to, let's say, dilute your ownership, that's kind of like indication that probably the market is oversupplied, like I mentioned in the treasury side.
Yeah.
But also like a little bit feels that they don't have bought so much recently. It's also like a bit slowing down if you look this curve.
Yes.
So so it's kind of like also super risky signal for investors. I think we have seen like the stock falling from over 400 to now 300 something, is it? I didn't check recently. Just kind of like probably indication to reduce exposure, I think. Like personally, I just sold most of my treasury companies already in January because most of them have been really flat. Like other asset managers like Neptune or DeFi Technologies, it's kind of like really flattish since then. And I think it's just like signal of weakness, and personally, I wouldn't touch any treasury companies. So if the narrative over Ethereum really takes hold, then people just sell the Bitcoin, and that puts a lot of pressure on these treasuries to probably sell part of their Bitcoin, like I mentioned, because then probably margin calls arrive because they have been levered so much. But I think it's also like the fact that they dilute their shares kind of like indication that they probably have reached the upper limit how much the debt they can raise for their company. So there's not so much added value for investors themselves as well to have more debt issuance in MSTR. Yeah, it's kind of like feels a little bit that we are pretty close to the peak of how much debt they can use to buy more Bitcoin. And in these situations becomes really dangerous, I think. Like if there is any even a small draft house in Bitcoin, we have seen really massive moves in the MSTR itself.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, so now institutions are buying Ethereum, and we're seeing Bitmine technologies here buying a lot of Bitcoin, also Sharplink and others. So so this is really a new thing, a new narrative here. And let's move forward. Also institutional Tron, but we can actually skip that. But so about your quant models, on chain still looks down.
Yeah, I think it has been just systematically falling like the whole year basically so far. So there's like transactions and there's demand for the blockchain itself. So that's also like pretty much good way to characterize the current market where it feels a little bit stretched because we're only going up just because liquidity has increased. So if there's any small decline in, let's say, US liquidity, if the rates just continue to go up, that might put pressure on, let's say, the financial system as well. Because we have seen a lot of volatility around bond market and stock market recently because uncertainty about debt like Fed independence. Because the higher yields and probably higher inflation shouldn't be bullish for Bitcoin. That's kind of like would be a bit supportive. That feels a little bit stretched valuation that in next year latest we will see some correction because I think in the long term the Bitcoin value should be closer to fundamentals because the fundamentals has been deteriorating since mid last year, right? So we are like a little bit over time, like I mentioned before, that normally the lag is 6-7 months, and now we have also seen deviation in Bitcoin value from the M2. So probably at some point we have sizable correction, I think.
Yeah, I'm also expecting a correction, but I think it might come in Q4, like the last quarter, or then at the first quarter of next year at 26.
Yeah, I think it just depends on the liquidity and NVIDIA earnings today. Like if it starts to revel, then in the tech side, then it probably takes down the whole Bitcoin itself as well.
So markets can stay irrational longer than.
Yeah, as long as there's like new money in the casino, then it's party can go on.
Yes, for sure. So that's and I think we discussed this before, that one thing affecting this on chain is that a lot of Bitcoin buying is happening through these ETFs and these new financial products, and that not that many people are actually buying on-chain Bitcoin. I think it's quite rare. So
that would be like one of the variables, like transactions, but it's also like about size of blocks and the mining itself, because the mining should still, because the hash rate is kind of like increased, but the other variables are like going downwards, like the miner income and so on. So but it's also like explains why a lot of miners like Kiffer and some others have started to plan to move from Bitcoin to Ethereum as well. And it's kind of like probably the indication that the blockchain is oversupplied by the miners, and miners are looking new, let's say, parts of them digital assets market to go into.
However, Ethereum is not mined nowadays. It's this like it's proof of
stake.
It's
staked, yes. Yeah, but it's kind of like
used to be.
You're kind of like. Yeah, it's kind of like just means that those companies become just like yielding machines, right? That you raise debt and then you buy Ethereum to stake it, and then you get like returns on that. So the structure of those companies obviously changes, and it becomes less power dependent, right? More like capital intensive process.
Yeah. Let's look at the sentiment model. Do you have any comments here? It still kind of looks better than the on-chain. So this could carry
it's kind of like increased a bit, and then it now decreased slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the market has wings till Q4 at least, maybe to Q1. But as you, I'm also expecting a correction sooner or later. I think it might be maybe January or something, or if you correlate with cycles.
Yeah, I think it just depends on the US how long they can keep the Nasdaq alive.
Yeah.
That's kind of more like the thing. Like if inflation starts to increase again, like in next inflation CPI measurement, because the core inflation, like the basket of goods stuff that everyone needs, like food and other things, those are also increasing in Europe. And I also see that a lot of like agricultural commodity prices have started to increase quite a lot recent months. And that could be also like indication of higher inflation, and then it might be that there will be less rate cuts than people expect, or that leads to a situation where, let's say, housing market or some other part of economy breaks down, and that causes, let's say, downturn and leads to, let's say, selling of risk assets. That would be like one of scenarios that I could think about, because at least seeing a lot of X that there's a lot of price declines in some housing markets in the US. And
it's about macro, because Bitcoin is not correlated with Nasdaq, so it's about
I think so. Like if there's any like decline in Nvidia, then Bitcoin goes with it, basically. So we probably see it in 2 hours, yes, when they have the earnings. If there's start to be down pressure in Nvidia,
agreed. But Juhani, thanks for your thoughts. I think we can wrap this up, and thanks for company. See you next time, and thanks to our listeners.
Yeah, we do so. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.